And yeah, okay, it sounds great to want to kill yourself one day or you keep thinking about it because you just think you're never getting out of this hell that you're currently in. But that's not true. I thought so too. And I have had more life after deciding and changing my mindset that I deserve more. I'm not this horrible person that I think I am. I'm not a burden to others. I deserve to be here too. And I want this amazing life. And everyone deserves that. No matter what struggle you go through, everyone deserves it because it's truly what you create. You can have a shit life because you think your life is shit. So, hey, guess what? You're a living magnet. So you're collecting the shit you think your life is.
What's going on, ladies and gents? My name is Richard Kuo, and I'm really excited to bring you the first episode of Self-Esteem Talk. I am really excited to have Kerri Gardner here on today. She is a mother of 3 children. She is a suicide survivor. She's a motivational speaker and the author of the book, Out of the Darkness, Into the Light, a memoir of suicide survival, strength, and love. So Kerri, I'm really excited to have you on today. Thank you so much for being on. Today, I just want to ask you a little bit more about your story. And let's start with that. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What was your environment like growing up? And what ultimately led you to deciding to wanting to attempt suicide?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I appreciate your time, and I'm glad to be here too. Why did I want to? Ultimately, what led to me wanting to take my life? It's kind of like Shrek with the whole onion. You know, if you ever watch Shrek and he says, you know, I'm an onion, I have layers. So it's kind of like my life, like everybody else, is a journey in layers. And so it wasn't just one thing, it was multiple things that layered up to then be like, I'm done. Today's the end of it. So it started off with the head injury when I was 2, being hit in the head by the pony. And then from that injury, 4 years later, due to growing up and developing as you do as a toddler into, a 6-year-old, I had basically scar tissue that was building that whole time that no one was aware of because it's all, internal. And at the age of 6, I had my first epileptic seizure, and they didn't know why. And of course, then I was rushed to do like MRIs, EEGs, KEGs, that type of stuff. And from those testings found out that I had seizures due to the injury because of the brain scarring tissue. And then the only way we could control them, me being so young and growing, because as I grew, my brain would grow and the scar tissue would grow, would be to be put on a drug at the time. This is 1979, was phenobarbital, and it's a barbiturate, and it seizes everything, literally. It just, to control that seizure, it has to control everything. And so it put me in this mental, physical, emotional black cloud, I call it. It was just, pure unhappiness. Like, to the point that I used to see people playing in the playground, talking, engaging, and things like that, normal stuff. And I didn't understand why they were doing it or how they could do it and what was happiness. I got things, but everything was like dimmed down. I didn't learn as fast as the other kids because I was so depressed and so confused all the time, and my emotions were erratic. And then all these other side effects that I just couldn't keep up with the other kids on a educational level. Physical level, yes, but not educational. Like, we all have our own learning degrees, but for me, it was like, for example, now as an adult, or even when I was in school, I always excelled. A's, B's. If I hated the class, I didn't care. So C's, D's. If I failed, whatever. Like, if I don't care, I'm not putting any effort into it. And luckily I passed. It's all good. But then I didn't even have that option. It was just like, flatline depression, flatline, couldn't function, if you were to talk to my parents today, especially my mom, when I'd come home from school and I'd have to do homework, I'd sit at the kitchen table and I would physically pound the table, like beat the crap out of the table out of pure frustration because I couldn't understand math, or I couldn't understand whatever subject. Math is my worst, but whatever subject I was learning, it was always harder for me than the average kid. So instead of dealing with it and trying to like, it's okay, Kerri, let's just do this part, and then we'll learn this part, and then we'll compile it, and then you'll get it. I still couldn't get it, so I would just pound the table because it just wouldn't process properly like every other kid. To the point that when I was in second grade, I had to be kept back because I was failing. I didn't get it. And I also wanted to play. I was so miserable and so unhappy. I just wanted to be left alone and play. I didn't want to be taught anything because I didn't get it. So it made me unhappier. So does that make sense? So all this layered up, plus living in a very dysfunctional home. My parents divorced when I was around 3, 4. Before that, I witnessed a lot of abuse coming from my father. He's a very angry person inside and out. He would use his words, his fists, objects. I witnessed when we lived in an apartment complex. I remember this fight when he was mad at my mom, and he took this big lamp and he just threw it against the wall and it smashed into a million pieces. Another time he was so angry, I think he wanted to beat the crap out of her, because I've seen that too, but he put his fist through the wall instead. So that, that stress and anxiety and, what's today going to be like, that was that. And then they divorced. And then a year or so later, a new guy comes into play, and my stepfather, and I'm thinking, as little kids do, even though I'm depressed thoroughly, well, I didn't get depressed until I was 6. So around that time, this is our new father, and he's going to be like our hero, because we left chaos and in misery and unhappiness to hopefully this will be better. And instead, you find out very quickly that it's all about him, what he wants, how he likes things, his way or the highway. My dad used to say that too, my way or the highway. And it was like, I don't want kids. And he never physically said that in the early ages. It was later in life when I said, hey, you guys ever going to have a kid together? Or, no, I don't want any kids. I don't want any kids. So how does that supposed to make you feel? Because, well, we're kids, and we were here first, and you don't want kids, so why would you want us? Do you know what I mean? So growing up with that, and then with the 7 years of depressions from 6 to 13, all, puberty and all that stuff, basically kindergarten to almost into 7th grade, because mind you, I had to stay back in 2nd. So I was always a year older than everybody else past 2nd grade, which I hated as well. And I was taunted by that from the grade before me that I was in, by not going with them. So there was a lot of, bullying, depression, dysfunction, not getting the love I deserved, or my brother, seeing I call it in my book, the Bermuda Triangle. It was like my mom and us, the 3 of us, and it was her and him, and then it was her in the middle. So it's like she could never win, because she's trying to do good by us, but she wants him and he wants her, but he doesn't want us. It was a mess. So all of that, and then, throw in puberty. So my hormones are like, I call it the Rice Krispie time, snap, crackle, pop, they're going mental. And then, so, then I'm feeling ostracized in school, because still I have the learning disabilities, in the sense that I'm not as I'm quick-witted, in the sense, like, I can nowadays, sarcasm, I'm brilliant at sarcasm. And if I went to cut you with my tongue, I could be really mean, and I don't like that about myself either, but I'm good there, like it's caught up. But, then no. And it was really hard to be a student. And then we moved, and I was a new kid, and all this. And then that whole year of 6th grade going to 7th grade, I'm like, I just hate my life. And I just can't imagine one more day of this, like not feeling loved at home, not being loved by my real dad, who could care less if he saw us or not. My mom's trying to make it all work, but yet she chose a guy who didn't want us. So that pissed me off. And he's not going anywhere. He seems to be like a permanent fixture. And then, then I have this, the bullies, and then you have the snobby kids, and you have the jocks and all. Nothing changes. A million years from now, if we're all still on this planet and the school system is still happening, you will still have your jocks, and you'll have your snobby bitches, and you'll have, the geeky kids, and then you'll have the kids like me I'm happy to be with all of you, just as long as you choose the golden rule. And if you're not, and you're a jerk, I don't want to be around you. But if you were to go back and ask everyone from my high school graduation now in our 40s, how is Kerri? They'd all say, like they wrote in my yearbook, she was awesome. She was great. She was really nice. She was this. And the irony is I hated my life and I hated a lot of them, but I liked a lot of them, the ones that were nice. And I couldn't wait to get the hell out. And I just tried to treat you the way I wish to be treated. And the funny thing is they'd even say, she was popular. She was this. She was so popular. I'm like, where did they come up with this? I was not popular. I just chose not to be in any one clique because I hate cliques. I just chose to be me because of everything I've gone through. And I chose to hang out with my best friend and everything she's gone through. We clicked and we just stay to ourselves. And everybody else we tried to treat as we wish to be treated. So it's like all of, school, if you've been through school, it's not the easiest for anybody, even for the popular ones and the jocks. They have their own stuff going on at home. No one sees it. Everyone thinks the grass is greener. That is not true. And so we all go through our own thing. But for me, with the depression, with the dysfunction, with the puberty, with the not learning very well, with me feeling ostracized at school, with me being bullied at school, I came home one day and, I'm like, I've had enough. But the interesting thing is weeks before I decided that was the day, I had started, it was even probably months, I had started to give up my stuff, like stuffed animals at home. I'm like, I'm not going to see these again. Why do I need them? I bring them to school. Hey, I have these stuffed animals. Anybody want them? Yeah. And they take my stuff, and then my brother, Bill, I'd go say, hey, do you want to come in? And you like some of my stuff? He's like, yeah, take whatever you want. Really? And I used to tell him to stay out of my room. So this was heaven for him. He'd be like, oh, it's free. Okay. And he'd come in and I'd say, anything you want, take it. I don't want it. I didn't care, and these are signs of shutting down and saying, I'm done, I'm leaving. You may not tell anybody what you're doing, but you're showing the actions of. My school grades, they were just, I was passing, but not flying colors, but then my grades were failing. Because why? I didn't care anymore. I was done. So these are signs too. You're just giving up slowly but surely, and you're planning. And I'm a huge planner. Regardless that I used to plan then, I'm just a huge planner. I plan everything. That's just who I am. And I planned it. But I didn't know when. I just knew it was going to happen. And then the day that I came home, that particular day in May, again, I gave up on my chores. I didn't care if I did them or not. So I was getting in trouble at home too. And then I didn't do my homework and I didn't do this and I wasn't caring about that. And so my stepfather came home and he was like, he was done with me, this, you don't talk back and you don't do your chores and all that normal stuff. And I'm like, I don't care. And so he yelled at me and he grounded me. And I was pissed at first, like, how dare you? How dare you? Not even my dad, and you're grounding me. And then I thought, why do I care? And that kind of was like, that day was like, I'm done. But then he kind of was like the catalyst with the argument for the groundation to go, today's the day. Because, like, why do I want to wake up and be grounded tomorrow? Yeah. It's over. So on top of everything else, I'm not going to go through groundation. So that's how that all came about. It was 7 years of layers. Wow. Yeah. And then I just said, I'm done. And so I knew they were going out because it was a ritual Friday night, Chinese bingo. And I'm like, perfect timing. Because I knew I'd have anywhere from 3 to 5 hours, something like that. Wow. And so I planned it. Yeah.
Hey, thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
I had the chance to read the first few chapters of your book, and it was a nice little review on what I read.
Yeah.
And I guess this is a quick plug. If this was a good summary, I would definitely recommend checking out Kerri's book, because it just the way you write it is so perfect. It's like you really dive into the emotions, the thoughts that you're feeling, and as I was reading the book, I got really sucked into it. As I told you, I sat there and I kept reading. I couldn't stop reading. It was 1:30 in the morning. I'm like, oh my goodness, I really need to go to sleep. And I started feeling everything you're feeling. I've never gotten that far on my taking my life journey, but being able to step in your shoes, I'm like, okay, well, I definitely see why you would make that decision. The question that comes up to my mind right now is, so look, I think a lot of people, do you know the numbers behind that? How many teens or people are attempting suicide and they are considering it?
Of course, yeah. I mean, I'm sure it could be different today, but the
Yeah.
last time I checked was basically every 40 seconds, a person's killing themselves.
Mm.
So that works about 3,000 a day.
Wow. And that's just in the US?
Mhm.
Wow.
And then there's like the 20 odd thousand or so that are contemplating it
Yeah.
yearly.
Yeah.
And doesn't matter. I mean, it's just such a preventable thing, but at
Mm.
the same token, if you don't know what someone's going through, you don't see, so how do you help?
Right.
And then the people who need the help just feel like there's no hope, no more. It like the pain will go when I go.
Yeah.
And I'm here to say that's true, yes, but there are so much more benefits to living.
Mm.
So much more. Like today I went to a funeral, and I was telling you earlier, that's why I have my makeup ruined here, and I keep rubbing my nose because they won't stop running from all the crying today. And you just sit there, and it was for this sweet teenage girl who I never got to meet. This is the second funeral in my life, and they both have been people I don't even know. Crazy,
Mm-hmm.
but I go to support. This was supporting my daughter. She lost her friend due to a crazy freak accident at a pool. And this sweet 17-year-old girl who's also a lifeguard, like she is, lost her life to electrical and drowning. It was nuts. And I sat there and thought, this could be my daughter. This could be Britain. This could be my other daughter, Sky. They're both lifeguards. This could happen to them. This is anybody's child. This could be anybody, boy, girl, whatever. And and your heart is broken because, like I said, you don't know what it feels like to be a mom until you're a mom or a dad, and you never should bury your kid, never. And to stay there and watch this and hear her mom just pour her guts out about what she felt and feels about her child, who she'll never be able to kiss, hold, hear, cuddle, laugh with, fight with, all of it, broke my heart. It still breaks my heart, and I think, as much pain as that is, I'm so glad I'm a mom. Because if I had killed myself like I planned, I would never be able to feel any of this. And I would never have been able to carry each of my baby and physically give birth to them and enjoy that love and that sensation of being a mom and creating, and that baby was born from love. We made it. We made it because we love each other. We made love. And yeah, okay, it sounds great to want to kill yourself one day, or you keep thinking about it because you just think you're never getting out of this hell that you're currently in. But that's not true. I thought so too. And I have had more life after deciding and changing my mindset that I deserve more. I'm not this horrible person that I think I am. I'm not a burden to others. I deserve to be here too. And I want this amazing life. And everyone deserves that. No matter what struggle you go through, everyone deserves it because it's truly what you create. You can have a shit life because you think your life is shit. So, hey, guess what? You're a living magnet. And so you're collecting the shit you think your life is. It's like you're this human garbage disposal guy. You're out there collecting trash. Well, you are, because you're creating it with your thoughts and your attitudes and your actions. Well, imagine this. You flip it. You go, wait a minute, maybe I'm the problem. Okay, there's other problems people might be adding to your problem, granted. But maybe if you stop thinking negative thoughts and you stop acting negatively and you stop, acting out negatively, and you get yourself away from those people or that situation or whatever it may be that's causing you this pain, and you actually surround yourself with loving people who want to lift and support you and love you, imagine the changes that will happen. And that's what I did. I was 18 and I said, I'm going to college if we can afford it, and I want to do this and I want to do this. And I started to plan my life. And once I started to plan my life and actually take the daily action steps to make that happen with the support of my family and friends, I got to go to college. I got to graduate. And then, thankfully, I met the love of my life when I was 13. Now, I could have met him later. I could have met him earlier. Who knows? But I did. And because we had such a wonderful friendship that turned into such an intense love, I had the ability to reconnect with him. And ever since I've been with Trevor, since I was 20, now I'm 42, going on 43 this September, my life has been nothing but pure love and adventure, because we've been to Paris and I lived in England and I went to Madeira and I went to Gibraltar and Caribbean islands. I had a 30-day cruise, and we took the kids on the same cruise that we went on when we immigrated from England to the US. And we've moved houses way too many times, and we've had experienced life and sadness and anger and frustration and all of it. We've gone through a foreclosure and a miscarriage. We've been sued and got through it. Stupid stuff. It should never have happened, but it happened. And we trusted an accountant, and he screwed us. And so we ended up having to pay this enormous amount of money for 8 years to the IRS. I mean, things that would cripple you and make you not want to go on because you think it's just not getting any better. And not like this has all happened at once. This is over a 20-something year period, of course. But guess what it does? You get stronger. You learn from it and you move on. Life, in my opinion, is about your failures because you learn from those mistakes, which could be bad, but 10 to 1, they're just learning curves. And you grow, and if you allow yourself to grow, you become this better person for yourself and for others. And then your ideas get bigger and your wants get bigger, and that's okay and that's normal. And then you go for it. And no matter how many times you fail, as long as you don't give up, you will succeed. And I think if I had done what I wanted to do, if TT had never called me and I didn't say, hey, piss off, I want to kill myself, leave me alone. So angry, how dare she interrupt my plans because I'm a planner, I would not be here talking to you. I would not have 3 amazing kids. I would not be going on my 21st wedding anniversary. I would not be planning on buying an RV and a truck and selling everything we own and traveling the 50 states to have this biggest adventure ever. I would not be doing any of it. I'd be in the ground rotting. And wouldn't that just be a waste?
Yeah.
When you look at all that, wouldn't that have just been a waste? Because, I didn't ask for the seizures. I didn't ask for the depression. I didn't ask for the dysfunction. I didn't ask for the surroundings I was in. I still today don't feel I deserved any of that. Nobody does. But once I went through that, and thankfully it was survived. And then I was sent to a mental health facility to say, hey, we're afraid she's going to do it again. We need her to either wake up or catch it. That's what they were, and I got off the drugs. And once the drugs got out of my system.
Wake up or catch it? In
the sense of realize that your life is not as bad as you think it is. So wake up. I can't say my life is like everybody else's life and that's why they all want to kill themselves. Everyone has their different journey, experience. Someone could be being raped. Someone could be having drug issues. Somebody could be being beaten. Someone could be homeless. There's many, many reasons. But I've heard of hundreds and hundreds of stories of all of that. And once they decided to survive, and once they decided to thrive and make it, and their mindset was, I will go through A through Z to get to here. Then their lives changed, right? But it took to get to the very lowest of your life to decide I can't go any lower and I'm going to go up, right? So that's like me. I had to, unfortunately, I don't know if I know what I know now then, would I still have not tried? Because I was a child and miserable and unhappy and, dealing with feeling like I wasn't being loved enough from my father and wishing I could have been treated better from my stepfather and trying to understand why my mother chose someone who didn't want us, and then school and puberty and pressure and teenage and blah. And all that builds up. It's like a popcorn machine, and then it's, you're going to explode at some point. And that's what I did. And when I got off the drugs, when I finally came out of my system, and when I sat in a loony bin, as I call it, the mental health facility, for 30 days to watch other people finish what they started, between stabbing their eyes with pencils and trying to suffocate and drown in a tub, as well as other things I didn't write about. It's scary. I mean, I watched I'm like walking down the hall, and I watched this kid who was running from one of the counselors or guards, or I don't know what the heck we call them now, get jumped on and then thrown in a straitjacket. I mean, these things kind of wake you up. They scare the living shit out of you, that you go, do I want to stay in here any more than I have to? No. What can I do to get the hell out of here? Okay, and you work on it. And it made me realize that I want to live. I don't want to be these people. I know I can have a better life. My situation may or may not change at home. I don't know, but I can grow from this. I can learn from this. But it's easier said than done, because I had then now that 7 years of depression then led to another 7 years of trying to live through what I did, trying to make new friends, trying to deal with the fact that everybody knew, trying to deal with the fact that my parents, you know, looked at me differently and they weren't sure if I was going to try again. And then people hating me for trying, and me hating myself. And, you know, it was turmoil. And then I needed to learn how to love myself. And then I self-sabotaged myself. And then my dad was always a jerk. And, you know, and he finally is out of my life and has been out for almost 20 years. And, you know, all this stuff, you have to still go through all of that. It's not just like, oh, I'm good and now everything's hunky-dory. No, you still have to live life and kind of shovel yourself out of the shit. And then once you're done with that, you know, at some point it gets better. But unfortunately, you have to go through it.
Yeah.
It would be easy just to go, oh, can I just do this and everything's wonderful and I have $1 million in the bank and life's going to be great. No, it doesn't happen that way. But when you change your mindset, when you know what you want, when you find what your passion, and you know you actually have the power to create it, you can do anything, absolutely anything. You know, there's really no limits. Of course, there's a money limit, but if you do this to get this, to get this, to get there, it eventually happens. It just all kind of flows.
Right.
You know?
Wow. I have so many thoughts going on in my mind right now. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Wow. So I got to ask the first question, and this is a a few minutes back, and
that's okay.
Putting myself in the position of someone whose life is just like, it's tough. You know, like I don't want to deal with the stuff going on in my life right now. And, you know, I'm hearing you talk, Kerri. I'm hearing you like all these amazing things that are happening in your life. And I'm thinking to myself, I see the possibility. Like, I see that I can have a good life now, but why do I even care to have one? You know, I'm miserable right now. I don't want to feel what I'm feeling. And what you're telling me is that I have to work through all this crap in order to have the life that I want. Why would I even want to go through that trouble? You know, like what's
the end result? What's the end result then? If you choose not to change your mindset, you're just going to still feel miserable. So why would you want to do that?
Well, and then that's where the conversation of committing suicide comes up, right? So like, why not?
So you're miserable. People tell you they hate you. You're ugly. They're being beaten down by social media. You believe it. You believe it. You need this. We're living in this ridiculous instant gratification world. We're living where everything is notification. Ding, someone likes you. Oh, that's wonderful. Someone doesn't like you. Oh no, now I'm depressed. Ding, someone's saying they like you again. Or, you know, I don't know how to talk to you because we normally talk via the phone called texting. And so now that you're standing right in front of me, I think I still need to text you because it's easier than to be myself. That pisses me off. Like, you have no idea. I refuse to allow my children to do that. I'm like, you go to a party, either you leave your phone home or stick it in your purse. You talk to these people. You actually engage and learn about someone. It's so frustrating. We're in this, like, I swear, people think it's easier to, and it is to some extent. My husband and I were talking about this the other day. It's so much easier to live in a virtual world, like Risk online or Clash of Clans or, you know, Game of Thrones. I mean, please, I'm a huge GOT fan. I would love to live in that, sort of, because it's a bloody, and you can be stabbed and killed anytime. So I don't know, and it's kind of crazy, but it sucks you in, right? So that's like virtual. Anything that's easier outside is easier, and why not live in it? But you know, life doesn't have to be hard. It does if you choose it. So if you're being taught that life is hard, then why would you not think it is good any other way? You know what I mean? Like, I grew up hearing money doesn't grow on trees, and what do you think I am, a Rockefeller, and all that stuff about money, and money is the root of all evil, and blah blah blah. Okay, it's all about the meaning you give it. So if you feel your life is crap and you're just putting all this energy into feeling my life is crap and it can't get any better, well, Henry Ford said, if you think it is and if you think it's not, right. So change it. That's the key. You have the power. You have the key. You can settle with shit, a pile of shit, and then you want to just keep scraping through that. Or you can say, okay, and that's the other thing. No one on this planet, and I was one of them, wants to take responsibility for the decisions they've previously made.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the previously made decisions have led you to where you are this moment.
Yeah.
So once you change your mindset, as simple as a snap, and go, I'm done with this thought process and what people are telling me, I'm going to go read some positive books.
Yeah.
I'm going to listen to some audio books that sound wonderful. Tony Robbins, Mark Proctor, Brian Tracy, Les Brown. I can go on and on. I've been to these seminars. They're amazing. They lift you. They're awesome. These guys are legit. They've been through their crap and they've decided, I don't want to be in it anymore. So what do I need to do? I need to change my mindset.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's your mindset. It boils down to what you've been taught, what you can teach yourself, and how do you improve on that? I mean, I used to believe every single thing I was told by my mother and my father and my teacher and my grandmother, because they're older and they're wiser and they should have known everything. Well, guess what, guys? I realized when I was 20 that everyone is kind of full of shit and nobody really knows much of anything unless you've lived through it. I kind of just dawned on me that, wait a minute, you really can't be old and wise until you die, right? Because that's kind of like your last breath and you don't get to grow up anymore. See, you're still growing up and I'm still growing up. Do I know everything? No. And that's brilliant because I get to learn something new every day and I get to have the opportunity to teach myself something new every day if I want to. Right? I can make my car an audio on wheels. I can listen. It can be a school on wheels. I can just keep popping in, which we have. We downloaded all this stuff and we listen to it every day. And if we don't listen to it, I might listen to the music and get bored with the rap crap and whatever, all the swearing, I'm done, and then put on something worth listening to. But we teach our kids, you have the power to either have the best life ever, which is one of the only program I have as a speaker, Your Best Life Now, because that's all I know now. As I grow as a speaker, I will have more programs. So I only can teach you what I know.
Right.
And what I know is, yes, we all go through our own journeys. There's a lot of shit in there and there's a lot of good in there. But you decide, do you want to take the left side of the road and keep piling on more shit and dig through? Or do you want to change your mindset and know you have some shit to clear up, but once you do, you'll see the trees through the forest. You'll see your destination. You'll see what you want to do, but you know now, or you need to know now that you must work at it daily to achieve what you want. Because it's just not going to work if you go, I'm going to do it today, and then 60 days from now, maybe I'll do it again, and then maybe a year from now, maybe I'll change my mindset and start again. Because every time you stop and quit, you're only quitting on yourself. And you're going to get the same results. It's like that phrase, what is it? When you expect a different result, it's what, you're insane or something?
Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting the same result.
Right. So if you're going to keep feeling like shit and you're going to keep procrastinating, being a huge procrastinator and also blaming everybody else for your problems, okay? Now, there are people who do create your problems. I'm saying, the abuse you're not asking for, if you're being raped, if you're being drugged, if you're been sucked into a gang, if you're, dysfunction at home, if there's bad stuff at home, if a teacher is verbally abusing you. I've had that with my own child. That's why he's homeschooled, because he was being bullied from his teacher. That you cannot control when you're a small person. You don't have the power. But if you ask for help, if you go to the right people and ask for help, and those people care about you and they want the best thing by you, they will help you. I've found out in my 42 years, there are general people that really, really do like you and they really want you to succeed. Yeah. And they generally will help you get there. And, if I didn't have that help when I wrote my book, I wouldn't have written my book. Yeah. Because I needed that help. Because I didn't know everything. I had to ask people for help. I had to raise money to make my book happen. I had to ask people. I had to go back to some, childhood friends that I still thankfully am talking to and say, I can't remember this, but I remember this. Do you remember the rest of this? And they'd be, oh, this happened. Oh, that's right. And they helped me write my book. Or I go back to my journals. It took a village to write my book. It takes a village to have a life. You need help. Yeah. It's better to do it with others than to do it alone.
Yeah. So on that note, let's say someone is struggling and they're not in the right environment. They got parents who are abusing them or just not supportive of their decisions. Their friends are not really true friends. They're spreading gossip behind their back, and they're just having a really hard time trying to find support somewhere. What advice would you give to that person?
Well, if they're not getting it home, then I would find if there's a trusted relative that's not in your immediate, like at home, that you
Mm-hmm.
can trust and share your thoughts with, that can actually be a third party
Yeah.
and help you. There's that route.
What if
A
that's not an
neighbor,
option?
huh?
What if those aren't options either? Like,
Well, what if you don't have a family member that you can trust? Is there
yeah.
a neighbor? Can you go to the school counselor? You know, is there a teacher you trust who
Mm-hmm.
feels like more your mom than your mom, or your
Yeah.
dad more than your dad? There's got to be somebody. There's always somebody. Can you go to the police station and say, hey,
Mm.
you know, this is happening? They have the resources there.
Yeah.
So there are options. You know, even if you have a best friend who generally is a best friend, regardless of the ones who you think are friends and talking about you, but there's that one that you know you can trust, you go to them and their parents.
Hmm.
There's always going to be somebody. You just have to understand who that person is and who you can trust.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's always going to be somebody.
I'm thinking about there is a friend of mine or one of my YouTube subscribers who reached out to me and asked for some advice, and the advice he asked is that it is in his country, it is it's not legal for gay marriage, and obviously he is gay,
Right.
and so it's something that it's not socially acceptable for him. And if this is the case, if there's something that's really hard to get out there, and where it's not accepted by the family's not accepting it, the friends are not accepting it, and the society as a whole is not accepting it. Do you have any thoughts around that? Like, where do you get resources for support on that?
Well, sounds like, you know, if everything is no for you, you know, for the person who that is, then you need to go somewhere else where it's a yes. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't change everybody, obviously. If the whole stinking country is against you, if everyone's supporting it for fear, you know, if your family is against it because they were brought up to be haters of it, you know, if you have no one at all to literally confide in besides the person you're in love with and you wish to marry, then I would be like, get the hell out. Personally, I would, if I'm old enough to have some money to then move to another country, or B, live with another family or someplace where I'm accepted, that's where I would go. You can't change the world. You can only change one person's mindset, and then they change another, and then another, and then it grows. But you cannot change that situation where you're in, where they're literally being told on a daily basis, no, you're wrong, it's unacceptable, and you know, you should die, and all this other baloney. Ridiculous. You're entitled to be happy. You're entitled. You deserve to be happy. And it really pisses me off when people tell me two people who are in love and they're just a person. And if you want to, I mean, I always tell people, okay, take all the gay people, right? Gender, transgender, and all, and just turn them into babies.
Yep.
Would you hate them now? Seriously.
Right.
If you see them as babies, would you hate them now? Or would you want to hug and cuddle and love them and take care of them and support them?
Wow.
Yes, you would. But now that they're grown-ups and they have crazy hair and tattoos and they have a personality and they have opinions and they're an individual, now you're supposed to hate them because they're why? It frustrates me.
Wow.
I'm getting angry. I'm sorry. I'm getting angry.
I'm glad you're getting angry. Get angry.
So that pisses me off. You know, like, it's funny. My daughter and I have a huge argument about things, and me is with the tattoos. I love certain tattoos and I don't like other tattoos. It's sad that I can be prejudiced there, and I try not to be. I try to be open-minded, and I try to remember that they're a person and that's what makes them happy, and it's none of my business. But because I grew up in an era where tattoos is such, again, a stigma as to you must be a biker, which that's not a bad thing either. But growing up, you know, they're a biker, they do drugs, they're bad for you, gang, blah, blah, blah. That's still stuck in my head. It's so crazy. The programming that I've had back when I was little, 30 plus years ago, still rises to the top on some occasions. And, you know, when you get out in the world and you actually generally meet people and you may not see their tats and you get to know them.
Right.
And you're like, they're a really nice person. And then they take their shirt off and they might be covered and you go, oh my God, have they changed though?
No.
See, for me, it's a shocker. I go, oh my God, that person's fully tatted. And I go, but they haven't changed personally.
Right.
Just their now I'm just seeing more of them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm fine. But it's 2 seconds of shock. It's ridiculous. But
Right.
that's how my mindset works because of the programming that I've been under. Now my daughter's like, she wants tats. And she's 17. And I just see her as my baby. I see her as the little baby that I give birth to, and she's beautiful and perfect, and why would she want to cover herself in ink,
Yeah.
And then as I'm growing up, because I'm learning from her, she is me. Like I said, we don't stop growing up until we take our last breath. I don't know everything. I'm learning as I go. And unfortunately, this poor kid has to go through my growing up too, just like my mom had to with me being her first, and so on and so forth. And I go, why am I so hung up on her not having them? Why does it bother me so much? And I realized because I see this baby.
Yeah.
And I want her to mark up my baby. And even though she's a 17-year-old of my baby, she's still my baby. And I don't want any, but the hypocritical thing is I want a tattoo here. That's the semicolon for the suicide symbol.
Right. Yep.
And I'm going to get it. I'm turning 43. I'm going to get it. So it's going to have a semicolon. It's going to say never give up. And then on this one, I want the infinity sign that says Trevor, Skylar, Britton, and Luke, my husband and my kids, right? On my wedding hand. So I'm married infinity with them. And I'm like, I'm such a hypocrite, So then I sat there and I had a long thought for a while, thinking, why am I such a hypocrite? I want this for myself, but I don't want it for her, and da-da-da. And then I just thought, I got to stop, because I'm making her, how is my opinion actually hindering and hurting her?
Yeah.
So I told her, I don't wish to make her feel any less than who she is. If she wants tats on her, I'm just going to have to deal. I just said, please don't come home looking like a lizard or something, because, if that's what you really want to do, I'll have to figure out how to support it. But you're my baby. It's
do me a favor, please.
Yeah. And then she's like, I only want a couple, Mom. And I've heard that from so many people. They want a couple and they get addicted and they're covered, but that's their body and it's none of my business. Right. Yeah. So I said to her, okay, the only way I can deal with this is to go through it with you. So give me 30 days, but she has to pay for it. And she's 17. So if I give permission, she's allowed. And so I said, but really think about what you want on your body, because she's afraid of needles. She won't even have her ears pierced. Doesn't make any sense, but she wants a tat. So it doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm like, but I'll support it. So you choose what you want. Really think about what you want on your body and where you want it. And we'll go together. And I will be there for you and watch you have it. And maybe I'll get mine too, So, and she's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, because I want to support her. I always want to support her. All of them, all my kids. It's just getting past that mindset. And it always goes back to programming and mindset. It really does. And so, I would say to that person, you're entitled to be happy. You deserve to be happy. And if you can't change that particular area of your country, your state, your town, whatever, then move out. Because I have a gay uncle and I have a gay aunt, and they were not, it's taken years still for their family to be okay with them. So they moved to California. Why? Because it's like the gay capital of the world. It's like a little bit of New York and a little bit like East and West Coast, you know what I mean? So that's what they chose to do, to feel they could be themselves. And it kind of sucks that they had to move 3,000 miles away to be happy. But if that was the only way, then all the power to you.
Awesome. Thank you for
that. That's what I would say.
What resources would you give to people besides mentors and people talking to locally? What other resources do you know of that might be good in terms of just learning more, kind of building up our self-esteem and just getting out of those suicidal thoughts?
That's a good question. Because every generation is different, and every for example, I just found out about Out of the Darkness. It's Into the Light. It's a suicide walk. How sad is that? I'm a suicide survivor. I've been one for almost 30 years. I didn't start talking about myself and everything I've been through to help people until my book was launched in about last year when I was writing it. And I never ever once looked into any of those things, because when I was 13, I don't think they existed. The computer certainly didn't in my house, or anybody else's for that matter. And I didn't have the resources besides the yellow pages to look things up. And even at that age, I don't think I would have, knowing I could have. So, now with the day and age that we are, look online.
Yeah.
If you have a computer, you have that ability to look up, just put in a word: suicide prevention, anti-bullying, all that stuff. A million things will pop up. The way I say to get through your suicidal thoughts is because you feel very alone, you feel very cut off, you're full of pain, and you just really truly believe there's no way of getting out of it and there's no hope. And this pain will carry on, and the only way to end it is to kill yourself, and that's not true. So for me to get through what I did, past the self-sabotage, because that's what I did too, was find something that made me I had to figure out what happiness was too, because I said, when I was drugged up from 6 to 13, those are huge developmental years, and I didn't understand what happiness meant. So I remember a memory early on with Trevor being and I'm still as in love with him as I was then, but even more so now. My love grows for him more and more every day. But at the time, there was just a moment when we were just enjoying each other's company, and we had a great conversation. And it's in the beginning stages when that love is so fresh and new. And I just felt euphoric. I guess that's the word. And I thought, oh, this is what happiness is. I want this feeling to continue forever. Yeah. And that was such a discovery for me, because I had been happy before, but never knew the true meaning of happiness until that. And then I remember when we were in Disney World a couple of years, 7 years ago, the 5 of us, and we were just having a fantastic time, and everybody, nobody was complaining for once, and nobody was fighting, and there was no yelling and screaming and chaos, because that's normal. It's just family. And we were just, it was Zen. And I looked around and I thought, I feel so happy. I'm always happy, but I euphoric, because we're just all on the same plane of happiness. And it was just such a beautiful moment. I wish there was 20 people taking pictures of it, just to capture it. Yeah. To me, you have to find what makes you happy. Because once you find what makes you happy, you will just devour it, and you will put all your time, money, and effort into that feeling, because it's such a wonderful feeling, and it's a natural high that why wouldn't you want to sustain that? So does that mean joining a group? Do you like to sing? Do you like to play a sport? Do you like to play an instrument? Do you like to do art? What is your creative side that would make you so happy? Do you want to volunteer your time and help other people? There's so many outlets out there nowadays, and there's so many things you can take online for classes. There's counselors all over the place, in your school, outside your school. You just really got to figure out what makes you happy. And if you don't know, that's okay, because 10 to 1, I feel, being on this planet, not as long as most people, but the main thing that makes me really happy is when I make other people happy. Does that make sense? So if you don't know your passion yet, in helping others to be happy, you will find happiness.
What advice would you give to your younger self, especially the one that was going through such a really tough time?
I've been asked that before. That's such a tough question for me, because it's so many emotions wrapped into that one. Logically, I would say go to your 6th grade, 7th grade teacher, tell them how you're feeling, look for help. I didn't like my counselor. I just thought it was big ego, talked a lot. But, for me, it was even at 13, I could see through people. And I was like, you're all talk, no do. You're full of talk. I didn't trust them. You have to find someone you trust, who you really, really trust, to say, I'm hurting, I need help. Yeah. If I had told myself that, there was a couple of teachers, if memory serves, that were generally nice and generally cared. Those are the ones you want to talk to, especially if you don't have at the time, I didn't really, except for TT, I didn't have any really close friends. It was a really awkward stage for me, and I felt very ostracized from my own actions as well as the actions of others. So, it takes 2 to tango. So I would say, that might have prevented a lot. That could have. I could have shared how I was feeling, and maybe things might have not have turned out the way they did, but at the same token, for me as an adult looking back, I could have changed everything inside me, my thoughts, how I felt, hopefully got off the medication, all that stuff. But the home.
You hit up a lot of the questions that I had in my head as you're talking as well. I think one question I want to ask is where can people find you if they want to continue the conversation, or if they like what they heard and they just want to connect with you?
They can find me on several places. First and foremost is my website, kerrigardner.net. So KERRIGARDNER.net. That's where you have my contact information. You can see a demo video of me speaking. You can contact me to speak at schools. I do middle school, high school, and colleges. You can read about me. You can even get a free chapter of my book, the first one. And you can see like places like I've written for the Barefoot Vegan. I've spoken at Duke University. I've been on Sirius XM. I've had a couple things. I still have an invitation to Huffington Post I need to write. Haven't had the time yet. And on the bottom of the website, there's the buttons to click for Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. So that's probably the easiest to get to all of that, since it's all there and it's just a click away. And if you want to email me directly, Kerri@kerrigardner.net.
All righty. Thank you, Kerri. I appreciate it. And any last words that you want to leave anyone else who's struggling with self-esteem with?
Just know that you're always going to have that. I still do. I'm not perfect. I look in the mirror and go, oh, if I had a magic wand, I would fix this and this and this and this. You know, like who wouldn't, right?
Yeah.
But I also get up every day and I forget that stuff because that's just superficial, really, when you think about it. Your scars, your stretch marks, your whatever is part of your journey. And you should love yourself for that because you've earned that, good or bad or ugly. And I get up every day and I say at least 10 things I am grateful for before I even put my toes out of bed. It always starts with the man who's snoring next to me, who's driving me crazy, and I visualize punching the crap out of his face. But I love him so much, I just smile and go, imagine if he wasn't snoring next to me. That would kill me, you know? So I love his snoring. Even though I don't want it, I love it. It's part of the package, you know? And then I'm grateful for, I can move my body. I'm able, 42 and I'm flexible, you know? I can work out still. I can still learn. I can still eat. I have a roof and 4 walls. I have working cars. I have 3 healthy kids. We all have our health. You know, there's so much to be grateful for. And if you start your day off with gratitude, everything else is just superficial. Perfect. It really, really is. And basically life is too short. I always tell my kids, always tell each other you love each other. Always make up. Always hug. Always tell each other how you're feeling. I tell them all the time, all day long, I love you. I love you. I love you. I tell my husband, I love you. Because I've almost lost my life several times. Not just that one time I tried to take my own. When I was little, I almost died twice through different accidents. And I didn't, thankfully. But I always think, what if today was your last day? What if? Just like Rachel. She didn't know she was dying on Saturday. But she's dead. And she has all these people breaking their hearts over her. And I just hope she's in this amazing place and maybe she continues on. I don't know. I'm very spiritual. I'm not religious. But you really need to live each day as if it was your last. Even if you don't want to, at least live an hour or a couple hours, or you know, appreciate the now and build from that. And you'll just have, you know, the greatest life because you're creating it. But if you sit there and say, I'm negative because of what I don't have or what I want to have, that's a bad mindset. It's a poor attitude to have. You should just appreciate everything you have now. Even the littlest thing, like a cup of tea, a warm blanket, fuzzy socks, you know, a pet that loves you unconditionally. That's the way I look at my life. And I get really upset when they fight and go to bed angry because I think, guys, what if you die in your sleep? You don't know. You just don't know. And because I look at life very short, you want to enjoy it as if it's long.